Hey guys, welcome back. So today brought home this Craftsman mower. It is powered by a Briggs Quantum engine and seems to be in pretty good shape. I don't see any pieces missing, and it even comes with a bagger and a grass chute. Now this mower, it did not cost me anything. Someone had pushed it up to the side of the road and was just hoping for someone to take it away, and that person was almost not me. I passed this, I was in a rush, and I was late to where I was going, so I was not going to bring this home. And, mowing season's over, so I wasn't overly motivated to grab it, but thankfully, my son talked some sense into me, and I threw it in the back of the car. But before I did that, I did pull it over a few times. I wanted to make sure the engine wasn't stuck, and it had compression, and on both counts, it seemed good, but after pulling it over a few times, it showed no signs of life. So I'm hoping it is just a carburetor issue. There is some fuel in the tank, and it doesn't smell bad. So that is promising. And the oil, I checked that as well. It is full and actually pretty clean. So I say we pull it over a few more times and just make sure that the carb is in fact dirty. But before I do that, I'm going to flip the mower up on its side. I just want to double check the blade, make sure it's torqued down and not damaged. And if all looks good, we'll try to start it. Even though the mower doesn't seem to start, I unplugged the spark plug wire just to make sure there's no accidents. Loose. And absolutely no signs of life. So let's cut to the chase. I'm going to pull the spark plug out, squirt a little bit of fuel in there, and try it again. Spark plug looks brand new, and it's actually wet. Smells a bit like fuel. So maybe we don't have spark. Or maybe I'm reading it wrong. So I'll squirt a little fluid in there, a little bit of fuel, and just see what happens. Well, it runs. I kind of thought it might keep running, but I had to shut it down because the engine was racing out of control. So I think maybe the throttle plate is stuck. So let's get the cover off the airbox, see if we can check out that linkage on top and figure out what's going on. Looks like there's a lot of oil in the airbox, so hopefully there's not other issues going on here. But I'm not sure how this was stored before I got it, so potentially someone just tipped it up on the wrong side. So the governor spring is hooked up, and actually the throttle plate is moving. Interesting. So, not a good sign. Potentially there are issues with the governor. Maybe there's too much spring tension. Or maybe the throttle plate is just missing. I'm not sure. Throttle plate's definitely there. I can see it. It seems like it should work. So I'm going to try starting it again. Maybe let it run for a bit longer. I'm going to set you right about there and keep an eye on the throttle plate. Let's see if it tries to close once it's started. Okay, that was a lot better. The engine, it didn't run for long, but it sounded like it was under control as far as the engine speed goes. So I think maybe that throttle plate was stuck and it's not anymore. So yeah, I think we need to get the carburetor cleaned up so we can get this running longer to see what other issues there might be, because the oil in the airbox, it's a little concerning. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but that plug, when I pulled it out the second time, it had a fair amount of oil on the plug as well. So I'm hoping it's not an engine issue. You know, it doesn't sound like we have one, but until it's running longer, we really won't know. So let's get this up on the lift, get that carburetor off and cleaned up, and then run it longer and see if any other issues show themselves. So we'll start by getting the airbox off. It's just these 3 bolts. Judging by how tight they were, I want to say it's never come off before, but I do see some thread locker, so it may have. So this is an Autochoke mechanism, and it needs to come off, at least the linkage where it connects to the carburetor, before we can get that carburetor off. But before doing that even, I think I'm going to drain the fuel out of the tank. It's a bit of a wild card as far as how good that fuel is, or even if it's clean, meaning there's no water in there. So we'll get the fuel line off there, just let it drain out, and that way we'll refill it with fresh fuel. It's blue. So is that fuel stabilizer or 2-stroke fuel? I'm not sure. Uh-oh, got a hole. So you want to be careful removing this choke lever because it's hooked in on the other side by the exhaust. And if you move it too much, you might dislodge it, which isn't a big deal, but then you have to take a few more things off to get it back to where it should be. All right, so that's good like that. And then the carburetor, sometimes there's Torx bolts there, but in this case, does not look like there is. So let me get the right wrench for that. Just using that spilled gas to clean up a little bit. Before even trying to open this, I'm going to spray it down with some carb cleaner. Try to get some of this heavy stuff off. So it's just going to contaminate everything inside worse than it already is. All right, let's see what this looks like. Not terrible. Needle's not stuck. Float looks clean. It doesn't look bad in there. And that's pretty much it. There's really not much to this carb. The emulsion tube, I believe this is a pressed tube and doesn't come out. And down here, the bowl nut, that is the main jet. So I'm guessing that's clogged because I'm not really seeing any water. So we'll clean that out real quick, put the whole thing in the ultrasonic, clean it up real good, and we'll try it again. I think it's clogged. Maybe not completely. I think I see maybe a sliver, but not much. It's really hard to tell, but that jet, it is clear now, and I don't actually think it was clogged, so that is a little concerning. getting there. Needs a few more minutes. We got the main jet. Well, I was about to say it cleaned up pretty well, which it did, but I found the reason why it wasn't running, and it was not a clogged jet. If you look down here, this is cracked, and that is where the main jet screws into, and with that crack there, it's not going to be able to pick up fuel and deliver it to the engine. In fact, this is going to come right out. So, yeah, unfortunately, this carb is shot, and I don't think I have another one like it, so most likely I'm going to have to order one, but let me just take a second and double check. Yeah, unfortunately, most of these carburetors, they are for generators, not for lawnmowers, so I don't think I have anything that's going to work. But if I do have something, maybe it's on the bottom. So let me keep digging. The one on the left, that's the closest one I could come up with. But it is different. The fuel inlet is on the opposite side. And even the throttle plates, the alignment's a little different. And this one's meant for a primer type system. There is no choke plate. Although it potentially could be moved over. But yeah, that's going to be an issue. So I do need to order a new part. And in case you're wondering how to find parts, usually there's two separate model numbers. You have the model number for, in this case, the mower, and then you have the model number for the engine. And you don't want to just look up the model for the mower. And a lot of power equipment's like that, generators included. The generator has a model number and the engine is separate. So in this case, I typed in the model number for the mower, and you can see all the parts that are included with the mower, including the spindle, which I was questioning. I took a closer look at that. There are no parts missing. And when I typed in the model number for the engine, which in this case is 128T02-1270-B1, I get all the engine parts. And in this case, we just click on the carburetor, and we want the whole assembly, which is 125B. And you can see, unfortunately, it's back ordered with no ETA. So most likely, I'm going to have to go with the clone. And I'm willing to bet Amazon has a clone that's in stock. They usually do. I think the question is, how well does the clone work? And in this case, for $12.98, we get one that matches the model number. It's got almost 5,000 reviews of 4.5 stars. So that, I think, is probably the one we're going to go with. Though it looks pretty cheap. Maybe we'll go with the Hipa one. Yeah, that one looks a little better. Regardless, I need to order something, so I'm going to pause it here, and as soon as I get the part, we'll continue. Well, I'm waiting for that carburetor to show up. I'm going to take a second and just degrease the engine. The new clone kit showed up in the mail today. I ended up ordering the Hipa carb. I think it was about 14 bucks and less than 2 days to get it delivered. So can't go wrong from that point of view. And in general, I don't have a lot of good luck with clone carbs, but Hipa stuff usually works out. In this case, I really don't have a choice since the OEM part is not available. Anyway, this is the carb right here. Looks like it should fit on just fine. It also came with a new O-ring and a new gasket. So let's get that fitted on, and we'll finish putting the airbox on and try to start it. So start just by pulling this old O-ring off and put the new one in its place. And we can put the carb on next. Definitely a tighter fit, which isn't a bad thing as long as it's not too tight. Here we go. I'm going to torque these bolts down to about 50 inch-pounds. I don't have a spec on these, but I wouldn't want to go much more than 50 given the bolt size. Get the choke reconnected. The kit also came with a new gasket for the airbox side, which is already installed. So we just plug in the breather and then attach the airbox with 3 bolts. Going to leave the original filter that came with this mower. It is not oil soaked and it seems to be pretty clean. Done. It started first pull and the drive system works, but the engine, it wasn't sounding great. it sounded like the carburetor was running the engine rich. You know, potentially the choke is stuck. Hopefully that's it. So I'm going to pull this cover off here. That'll let me get a better look at that choke mechanism to see if it's hanging up. It's definitely hanging up a bit. Right there, that should be choke open. And when I let go, the spring should pull it back. So I'm wondering if when I start it, if it's not opening. You know, that's what it's sounding like. So I'm going to leave it right there, which is choke off. And, you know, start it up and probably tie off the bail so I can reach in here and just manually open it to see if that is the issue. That was better, but I'm not convinced we don't have a problem here. The way the Autochoke works is that when the engine's off and cold, it should choke automatically. Once you start the engine, there's an air vane right up by the flywheel where the cooling fins are. And when the wind starts hitting that vane, it should open the choke right away. And once the engine warms up, there is a thermostat over on the exhaust side which will hold the choke open. So if you stop the mower and restart it, the choke will be off during that restart. And it's not until the engine cools down that the thermostat allows the choke to close. And this spring is what should do that. And things really aren't moving that well. So I'm not sure if we have an issue with the air vane, the thermostat, the spring, but I think for now I'm just going to let the engine cool down. We'll let the thermostat return to its normal position and we'll try restarting it. But I think most likely I'm going to have to take some stuff off to get a better look at that Autochoke vane. Potentially I moved something out of place when I swapped that carburetor out, or maybe something's broken. I've given it some time to cool down, and the choke seems to be working properly. When I let go, it snaps back, and that's the way it should be. So let's try starting it again, see that that turns off. Yeah, something isn't quite right. The air vane should be turning that completely off, and it's not able to do so. So I think I need to get the plastics off. We'll get the tank out of the way and get the shroud off so we can get a better look at the Autochoke setup. Down there. Well, there's your problem, lady. We got a mouse nest in here. And the vane, it's on the wrong side of the thermostat. That plastic piece should be over here. So both those issues are a pretty big problem. This is going to cause overheating, and of course this is going to cause the choke to not fully turn off. So let's get that nest out of there. We'll fix the position of this vane, and we should be in good shape. Much better. That was much better. The choke sounds like it is turning off now. The engine is running well. There is a slight stutter every once in a while, so that could be something that needs to be looked into, but I'm not too worried about it for now. I think most of the issues are behind us. So I want to get this outside, put it to work, see how it does after an extended use, putting it under load. But before I do that, I did pick up a new blade, so I'm going to tip this up on its side. We'll get the old blade off, clean the deck, and throw the new one in its place. There's a lot of rust on the bottom of this deck, so I'm going to spray it with some fluid film to help hopefully slow down what's going on. Picked up a Stens Blade. It's about 20 bucks on Amazon. And when you install this, just keep in mind, when looking at the deck like this, the blade spins counterclockwise. So you want the sharp edge to be making contact with the grass. Otherwise, you could technically install it backwards. There's nothing to stop you. But of course, it's not going to cut very well at all. All right, let's give this mower a try. As you can probably tell, the grass, it is overgrown. It actually has not been cut in about 3 months. The drought completely wiped out this part of the lawn, but now that we have the cool nights, it has finally recovered, I'd say a few weeks ago. So let's get the mower started and see how it does. I thought maybe I had waited a little too long. I honestly didn't think the mower had much of a chance of cutting the overgrown grass, but it had no issues. It did not miss a beat. So yeah, not too bad for a free mower. It really didn't need a whole lot other than a $13 carburetor. Now it's back up and running again. So I hope this video helps someone. Thanks for watching.